Good evening, fellow ghouls and specters alike. It's your ghost host with the most, Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive. Here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs and dusting off the cobwebs as we recount our spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So light the jack-o'-lantern, suit up, and grab the candy dish as we revive and recount tonight's spooky selection, the Haunted Mansion movie. Eddie Murphy's miscasting is scary. Oh man, I like the voice you're doing there, Dragon.
Right.
Trying something new.
Well, I figured try to go for the butler angle. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. All right, how you doing tonight, Dragon? How have things been?
Spooky.
All right. Well, yeah, it's another October, another haunted holiday hijinks is upon us, and we've got a pretty good lineup for you, folks. You know, some obscure gems, some classics that we've been going at for a long time now. You know, some traditions, and some a little bit of little surprises along the way. But we're going to start with something that's very seminal, but also very much maligned. That is the Haunted Mansion movie. In Dragon, I gotta say, just to get right into my thesis, and then I'll build up nostalgia for this. This thing, it's not great, but it's very watchable. Like I was very surprised at how unoffensive this thing was, for lack of a better term. I mean, is it the perfect Haunted Mansion movie? No, it's really not. And Eddie Murphy is probably like the main reason why it's not a perfect Haunted Mansion movie. But man, there's some glimmers of genius in here. I mean, there really are. I honestly think this thing ties to the attraction a lot better than the Pirates movies do. Granted, of course, Curse of the Black Pearl overall a way better movie than this. But man, I gotta say, just all the attraction tie-ins really just kind of make it for me, because it's sort of the thing where it's like, is mediocre is
Mediocre.
some of the other elements of the film can be. Like, there's like an attraction reference around every corner with this thing, and it kind of makes it a fun Easter egg hunt. So I don't know, man. You know what? To tell you the truth, Eddie Murphy, he's a little out of place, but he's endearing. I gotta say, like, he got more than a couple chuckles out of me throughout the runtime of this movie. Now, in terms of nostalgia for this thing, Dragon, I was stoked for it, man. I was like, 2003 was like my peak Disneyland fandom. That was like the third time I'd ever been to the park. That was back when I first started the Tiki persona online. I was just a dumb little 13-year-old kid, but I was just way into it. Dragon, I was actually at Disneyland the week that they had the premiere for Pirates Curse of the Black Pearl. So they had like these bleachers lined up all around New Orleans Square, and the sight lines were all ruined, and you literally had to walk under the bleachers to get anywhere in that area of the park, and it was kind of awful. But I definitely remember seeing the red carpet there on the day of the premiere. Didn't get to go to the premiere because you had to basically stand in line all day to be able to get a chance to go on the red carpet. But I definitely was in that sort of zeitgeist of just the excitement surrounding Curse of the Black Pearl. Of course, Curse of the Black Pearl comes out. That's a big, huge summer movie. Dragon, I would argue that that's probably one of the movies that is sort of, it was kind of like the 2000s franchise. You know what I mean? Much how the MCU is the 2010s franchise. And, I don't know, something like, Indiana Jones and Star Wars in the 80s. You know, I really do feel like Pirates has a place in the modern film canon for just being just an outright kind of adventure serial film. And the hype for attraction based movies were at its peak. Now, with the Haunted Mansion, I definitely remember when Eddie Murphy was cast. It kind of put a damper on the thing. But you know what? I went in optimistic, and I definitely have a lot of memories associated with this because I saw it in a very, very small, old school theater in this little tiny town in the middle of the redwoods. And that definitely added to the ambiance of it, Dragon, because I was literally in the middle of a forest watching this movie. And I guess when the movie came out, it was very much kind of like a come and go sort of thing. It didn't have the lasting appeal of Curse of the Black Pearl by a long shot. And I remember liking the movie well enough as a kid, and I still kind of like the movie well enough now, so not much has changed. You know, it's probably going to be another 10 years or so before I go back to this one. Oh my God, it's been more like 16 years since this thing came out, but I digress. But, suffice to say, I haven't revisited this since I saw it in the theater, and I was pleasantly surprised with how much it held up. I mean, dare I say it probably holds up better than like most of the Pirate sequels, if I'm being completely honest. So, all right, Dragon, that's my very long-winded take. What do you got?
Well, I don't have near as much nostalgia on this one. I've seen this one. My nostalgia, I did not have the in-theater experience. I do remember the advertising, but what I had was the home video release. And I got to tell you, it's somewhat meaty on the bonus features. You have a few commentary tracks, but what you really have, you have the Raven. Sorry, you have the Raven Simone remix
Oh, God.
of
Regarding
Superstition.
ghosts.
No, not Grim of Superstition.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Again, which I gotta tell you was awfully catchy. So that's kind of the most nostalgia I had for it. I mean, you had that. You had kind of the ride factor going for it. Like, oh, hey, I've been on that ride. Awesome. Now they make a movie out of it. What do you know?
In all honesty, Dragon, it was probably one of the first movies that was almost 100% member berries.
Pretty much.
I remember Leota. I remember the hitchhiking ghost. I remember the singing bus.
I mean, look, suffice it to say, it was definitely. I think I was more interested in kind of like a one and done, kind of ride brought to the big screen than I was with the Pirates movies at that time. I'm not saying there's like a big dividing line. I'm just saying that the Pirates movies just okay, we're just following the misadventures of kind of a filthy drunk pirate, and then of course, obviously, the movie. I mean, obviously, that film kind of blew up into an entire franchise, and I've kind of in later years I've softened on pirates. I'm more for the swashbuckling pirate than I am just kind of like the drunk stumble bum. But I hear there's more to it than that.
Drunk stumble bum. That's a perfect way to describe him.
Pretty much just drunk stumble bum.
I mean, Dragon. Here's the thing: in Pirates 1, he wasn't nearly as much of a bumbling idiot. Was he bumbling? Yes, but I don't know. Like he in Pirates 1, he was more of just kind of like a rapscallion who you didn't know whose side he was on, and then the rest of the franchise, he's pretty much an idiot. So,
And I believe that it's just I was a little too far gone at that point, just kind of being kind of warded off. Like I don't know if this movie's for me, and it probably the first one may have been able to get me, but the world may never know. I don't know. Point being, one they had like three factors going for this. You had like it's Disney's next big Eddie. It's the next. It's Disney meets the next big Eddie Murphy movie. It's kind of what the movie is. They have the ride factor going
hot
for it.
off of Shrek.
Yeah, and you also have kind of like
Shrek 2.
a really catchy music video with Superstition, which again was kind of like bringing Superstition to the kids of the next generation, especially with like another kind of like someone going really big in 2003 with Raven Simone. Had a couple things going for it, marketing and just kind of the overall like a 3-part sell. You had Eddie Murphy,
And it had Wallace Shawn. The kids love Wallace Shawn.
Yeah, My Dinner with Andre. Of course, the kids love Wallace.
God.
Like there's no other movie he appears in, like no other like classic that's loved by that parents and children, and another classic that's beloved by
Yeah, you're right,
Uh,
Dragon. That classic is a Goofy movie.
Of course, and then of course there is Princess Bride, and no others that Wally
Right.
that Wally Shawn is a part of. None that are just like not something my mind at all. Of course. Okay. Enough being cool. Of course, I'm referring to Toy
Right.
Story. Anywho, point being, my thesis for the movie itself, revisiting it after a while. It has been a while. It's been more than a hot minute since I've seen the Haunted Mansion. I gotta tell you, Haunted Mansion, it seems to be a really confused movie. Looking back on it, it's kind of basically. I think the movie's heart's in the right place. And that we're gonna. I like elements of the movie, I really do. But it's at war with itself. You have an Eddie Murphy movie versus a Haunted Mansion movie.
Oh yeah, totally,
And they really should
totally.
have picked one. I'm not saying there isn't some good parts in this movie. I'm not saying aesthetically. I think aesthetically we're doing a lot of really great stuff with the movie. But overall, I mean, when you really look at it, and I was kind of a little disheartened rewatching, it's like it's not great. It just feels like a really big missed opportunity of a film. And I'm not just saying this because like, oh boy, we need to reboot the Haunted Mansion. That's what we need to do.
Well,
I'm not
yeah, we do need to do
we
that.
do, yeah, but I'm saying just giving like just kind of a rewatch
Just
without like
follow
that.
the basic storyline of the comics. There you go.
Well, sure. I mean, so even without that, I mean, if you just looked at like the mythology of the ride and everything, just kind of the story that you're presented with is
Some of the mythology of the ride is pretty damn dark. I don't know how that would translate to a modern day film,
well, that's
honestly.
that's 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 the tightrope walk, right? That's the
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah.
My point is, you have a premise with a lot of potential. Not even factoring like the fact that yes, we do desperately have all the things we need, all the things they're remaking. The one thing we really do need remade, Haunted Mansion. But just looking at the film on its
Kind of
own,
like an Incredible 2 situation at this point.
anywho, my point.
I'm not saying that as a slam against Incredibles 2. I'm just saying it's kind of just like it's been so long that it's almost like a joke. Like, yeah, we really need to reboot Haunted Mansion at some point. Disney's never really going to get around to it, but it'd be nice if they did.
It would be. It really
All
would
right,
be.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying though. It's just the fact that you even take the movie on its own merits, you do feel like you're getting kind of two movies for the price of one. They both are kind of half baked, and that kind of hurts the overall whole. It's kind of what yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but I don't know, Dragon. Like I said, I guess I came into this with like really low expectations. So you know me and my expectation game, Dragon. Low expectations a lot of times ends up with a good result for me. Whereas stuff like like Dark Knight Rises, Jurassic World, stuff like that, where I'm super hyped for, tend to be not so good a result. So this I came in with like basically just like, oh god, this is going to be a hard sit, and it was an easy sit, Dragon. It was an easy sit. I mean, I thoroughly was invested in this movie. I can't say that the plot stuff is perfect. Honestly, I kind of enjoyed the Eddie Murphy stuff more than I enjoyed the Haunted Mansion stuff. Oddly enough.
I hear you somewhat on that. We'll get into that, but that's what I'm saying. It just feels like I don't think we quite stuck the landing, but there is fun to be had with the movie for sure. But it's mainly in more of a nostalgic setting. I'm sure. Basically, it kind of it holds up, but it only holds up in kind of the aesthetics. That's kind of where I'm coming at, I guess, with it all. That again, I think it's presenting something quite simple and digestible, but it's just like it could have been more, and it kind of reads like that. And it's I don't know. I guess still remains true.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so what do you got in terms of background for this dragon?
It's a very interesting background. So of course, Haunted Mansion film. The idea of doing a Haunted Mansion film, if I'm correct, stemmed from I want to say the Katzenberg era. Basically, the idea was Katzenberg being back during those Wicked Sleeping Beauty years, if you will. Katzenberg, if you remember, Katzenberg was really he was kind of pushing the animators
Can
out
I
of
correct you
building.
on this?
Well, I was okay. Go on.
I'm sorry, just it never really got off the ground in terms of like green lighting and in full development, but the idea of a Haunted Mansion movie was actually passed around in production as early back as Ghostbusters, when Ghostbusters broke big. That was kind of like the big sort of like watershed moment. It took them a while to get around to it after Ghostbusters, but Ghostbusters was definitely the moment where it was like, oh, okay, we could definitely like this. There are a lot of similarities between Ghostbusters and Haunted Mansion in terms of like the lighthearted meets the creepy. So I'm sorry, Dragon, go ahead.
Okay, well, the point is obviously as the reformulate a little bit here. Point being, recalculating.
Well,
But
I'm planting the Ghostbusters flag for a reason, my
no,
friend.
I know, and you're right. It's the point. Point being, so Ghostbusters definitely, Ghostbusters is kind of like sparking, like we can make, this could be a very good movie. We're very much, it's very much it's in vogue now, folks. I mean, take what we
Mhm.
have with the Haunted Mansion, make it into a property, and basically again during that,
Keep in mind, when Ghostbusters came out, the Haunted Mansion was maybe like less than 20 years old at that point.
well, yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
So anyway, so based on that, I think it kind of confirms I'm pretty sure it was Katzenberg because of that, because again, that would be like right smack dab in the middle, or at least kind of like towards the early half of the Wake and Sleep Beauty years, where again, it's like 86, right, a little after 86. So the point being, in the midst of, like Katzenberg kind of pushing the animators out of the building, he's bringing in the stable of stars and everything, wanting to kind of do a lot of live action. And presumably, this kind of gets this idea kind of clings around like, let's push for live action, and kind of in that kind of that late '80s, early '90s period, and kind of carries over to the Eisner era, and vice versa. And basically, there are a lot of over the years, there are a lot of permutations, and basically from going to movie to TV movie, and honestly, based on the success rate of whatever they were doing at that time, so essentially went a little bit like this. So one of the original ideas was they were going to do, the old sea captain pitch. You know this one, right?
Yes, 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 of course I know this one. And this one is honestly one of the ones that I was thinking of in terms of like probably a little dark to translate nowadays. Nowadays, especially being 2019.
Right. So the idea is, basically you had the old, basically we'd follow this sea captain legend within the haunted mansion, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite of the backstories because it would tie all of New Orleans Square together with pirates and the mansion kind of connected to each other.
So I want to say that was one of the early ideas that, no pun intended, really held
There's still a
water.
ship on the weather vane in the mansion in relation to that early backstory.
Yes. So basically, what happens is they have a pitch, they have an idea that they're forming. Okay, let's maybe let's focus it on the sea cap and sort of like build that into a movie. And of course, when they're doing this, they release Hocus Pocus, and
Oh
doesn't
man.
do that well. So the idea is that every time they're trying to get a haunted
Hocus
mansion,
Pocus is like the Halloween version of A Christmas Story at this point. I'm kind of sick of it.
yeah, the only difference is, well, yeah, oh, the difference is Christmas Story is better though. It's the difference.
Oh yeah, I'll agree on that.
Well, you see, that's the point. So the point being, you have something come out at the time before Hocus Pocus is now kind of the oversaturated. Hey, it's the old classic. Hey,
There was a
everyone do
time
the
when Hocus Pocus was like kind of like a dark horse Halloween movie. That time is long past.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has. The kids love Bette Midler. I don't know what to tell you, man. The kids love Bette.
Right. Oh god.
Anyway, my point is, so the idea is like you have like every time a haunted mansion project is trying to get off the ground and like in development, Disney kind of measures it by the success of their last of the last exploit, and usually it kind of sets it back. So, okay, like
Makes sense.
Sea Captain pitch, Hocus Pocus. Then we get to roughly like 1997, and then they're trying to scale it back, trying to reform. Okay, how are we going to do this? Okay, so Tower of Terror TV movie comes out.
Oh, that was that was a rough one.
So they're thinking, let's do Haunted Mansion as a TV movie, and then that movie comes out, and basically they're kind of realizing, if we expanded this one, that success, and that it's a little better numbers wise, but regardless, too much money on a TV budget. So again, it's kind of canceling itself out each time.
Right,
So in the
right.
2000s, you have a boom, and you're familiar with this boom. You have this boom of
Oh
ride-based
yes, I
films coming
am.
out. You Mission to Mars, you got your Country Bears, not all of them are gems. Then you get to
Most of them aren't.
True, and that's the fact. Point being, like 2000 are getting really boast. Yeah, let's do some theme park movies, man. Let's do some ride movies. So you Mission to Mars, Country
Mission
Bears.
to Mars like
I
hardly counts.
Well, sure. I'm gonna say if you want to be all technical and just see where maybe the ball really started rolling. Like, yeah, let's see what sticks.
It's
Then we
such a
get
weird choice, honestly.
it is it is.
Anyways,
Then we get to Pirates of the Caribbean, which of course that one really. So as you can
that
see,
was
if
the
we're
watershed.
that's what I'm saying. If you measure by the success as per the pattern, the last one in that lineup, Pirates of the
Right, right.
Caribbean. So hey, we got to quote Ghostbusters. We got one. Another Toy Story connection with Andy Potts.
Oh yeah.
Anywho, so the point being, we finally get traction off the ground in kind of this 2000s when we finally have an end to make the movie, and they get one of their big directors, of course, who's kind of had dipped a toe in both animation, big successful animation in the Disney stable of movies, as well as a little bit of live action, a little bit of cozy live action success in Stuart Little. So, of course, we bring in Robert Minkoff, the director of both The Lion King, one of the directors of The Lion King. I'm probably going to need to stress that, and the director of the Stuart Little films.
Yes, yes.
So,
Stuart Little films, not a bad set of movies.
not bad. First one's better, but it's not bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so the original plot essentially was more ghost centric, if you will. It was more ghost centric. Uh, basically, you had a
The Hatbox Ghost wasn't until Del Toro, right? Like that
no,
was
yeah,
even
yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Del Toro. That's
Okay.
really that's all that kind of took place.
Right.
Basically, the idea is you had the yuppie real estate guy essentially was there. So basically, that was there. You sorry, you had that, and basically, we
You should have
we
played a groundskeeper, not a real estate guy. That would have
I-
made all the difference. I'm serious. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
we're jumping ahead a little bit with that, but my point being is, I believe the original, like they did have the yuppie real estate. The real estate guy was there, but you had the essentially the main plot was going to be about we're free. You can see the DNA of where the story ended up here. Okay, yuppie real estate guy with his family. We're tasked with freeing a bride before the 13th hour. Now, basically, the 13th hour thing was a little bit more pronounced in the original treatment of the story. So it's going to be like that. If they don't solve all this by the 13th hour, they're going to be trapped forever and become ghosts themselves. I mean, they can never leave, which means they'll eventually die in there and become ghosts that will haunt the manor, which I think is a really good sell, personally.
I honestly remember the 13th hour thing being like hyped up in the marketing, even.
Yeah, but it's really downplayed, almost non-existent in the movies.
Except for like that one shot towards the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. Aside from that, they really don't bring it up again. You'd think they would.
Right.
So, basically the bigger roles in the movie, the caretaker was going to have it was going to have a role, as well as the hitchhiking ghost. They had a much bigger role, and basically they kind of thirded the they kind of thirded the hitchhiking ghost, let's say, in terms of the work department.
Well, we do get the best one.
we do. So that's good. So, point being, originally, as you can get a sense of, there were more stakes, it was a little bit more serious. But as they were working on it over time, you get a sense that the studio really got nervous about kind of the appeal of the Haunted Mansion and the story, and a lot of that, which led to what I can only describe as a lot of cash-in changes, if you will. Which I'm not saying Eddie Murphy was the pure cash-in change. I'm saying that was probably the most obvious of them. But basically making some choices. Probably, I think it's where we get a lot of the kind of the kryptonite for the movie overall. I think it's where we get a lot of, like, we're kind of simplifying a lot of plots. We're simplifying a lot of things, just basically getting in the big eye catching cool stuff, and let's downplay some of the sophistication, the subtlety, and the story. Perhaps
right.
They shot in Santa Clarita. You got to be careful around Santa Clarita. You know why?
Right.
They got zombies, man. They have suburban zombies in Santa Clarita.
Oh, man.
We're really upset about cancellation. Anyway, and also, of course, they did shoot a little bit in New Orleans. They definitely mixed a bit of California and the Florida mansions aesthetically. You can definitely see that. It's mainly Florida based.
But it's kind of like the Florida aesthetic with like the front porch, the prominent front porch of the California one.
Exactly. And that's all she wrote.
All right. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry, Dragon. Let's get into plot. I'm kind of chomping at the bits to get into this.
All right, well, start us off, little mister. Go on.
Okay, so the real estate stuff is probably the worst element of this whole movie. Would you agree?
I would agree with one minor exception. Okay? I agree with you that basically I because I couldn't think of a better idea, but I will say this though. The idea of a realtor is not the worst thing in the world. The problem for me is making it a family, a realtor bringing his family. That's, to me, is where you have some kryptonite in the story there, where it's at least
you do not need the kids in this movie whatsoever.
Because the idea, okay,
just completely been cut.
Because I'm fine with, okay, so we have our protagonist, who basically protagonist in the sense that we need like kind of the writer's POV of just a stranger comes to the haunted mansion. Why would he go to the haunted mansion? Well, maybe he's trying to flip him. It's a realtor. I can buy the realtor angle. I just can't buy the only reason we're bringing the kids is because of the rides. Because, like, hey, bring your kids, bring the whole family. That's why they're there.
Dumb reason to have. That's just a dumb reason to have kid characters.
And Tiki, this is the cash-in
Honestly,
change.
I'll raise you one. I'll raise you one. I think the main reason to have the kid characters is just though, of course, we can do the oh no, I'm an overworked dad. Dinner at 7 o'clock. Of course, I'll have dinner at 7 o'clock. Oh no, a client offered me an offer and I can't refuse it. Whoop de doo. It's just like the most like stock version of that story that we've ever seen.
And these are the cash-in changes, Tiki. We're doing the cash-in changes of we're simplifying things where he's a workaholic dad. We see him a million times. He's trying to make up for things, which leads to a little road trip because he's going. Essentially, they're going on vacation, and they end up in Florida, which again is kind of our Disney of it all. In essence, I know it's not literally there, but it's the sense of like let's kind of go on a little vacation, which brings us to a major Disney attraction. Therefore, it's like subliminally saying take your kids to Disney. It's kind of what subliminally saying
yeah.
in the movie, and it's a shame because honestly, I'm convinced of it. I think Disney's just afraid, especially at that time. I think they're afraid just to have basically single non-family men characters as their leads.
Pirates. Pirates did not have a single kid character in it.
Okay, what?
So there you go.
That's fair, but okay, look,
Mm-hmm.
that's fair, but that's more of like they have like a lead pirate character. I see your. Okay, anyway, I'm saying is non-exciting, again, potentially swashbuckling characters, like characters who can be action heroes. My point is non-action hero characters. I don't know. It's like I can't think of an example for that one, little mister. Give me that one.
No, I know what you're saying. Like basically a character that you could build a franchise around. Which I mean, like it or not, Jack Sparrow is a character that you can build a franchise around.
Yeah, it's like we're afraid of just an average Joe. We have to make it a family man, just because for the kids, for the sell of it all, because we have to have.
All right, well let me raise you this though.
Okay.
I think what would have saved the movie. Forget about the whole like every man coming into the mansion for the first time. I mean,
Okay.
Dragon, you know me. Like I think unnecessary every man like point of view of the audience characters are really unnecessary.
Very anti-Great Gatsby. I hear you.
Well, I'm not anti-Great Gatsby. I fucking love Great Gatsby, but
well, based on that statement, it sounds like you're not a big fan of that story.
Okay,
anyway.
Nick Carraway is a character that's actively involved in the novel, and he's not shoehorned in. All right, he's actively involved in the story.
All right, fair enough. Go on.
But a lot of stuff in that novel would not have happened without him. Anyways, okay. So, anyways, I'm sorry. My point is that Dragon, make him the groundskeeper. Because you know how in the attraction there's that groundskeeper with the dog and he's scared shitless by the ghosts in the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Just make Eddie Murphy that character, and Eddie Murphy could be like bumbling and cowardly, but throughout the movie he could like kind of like get his groove, and maybe by the end even have some action hero like charm to him. I don't know. Like I could see that being like a kind of like I kind of view it as like an uncommon, an unorthodox action hero almost, like kind of like how Nicolas Cage in the National Treasure movies isn't he like a librarian or something?
Not exactly. No, he's I don't. It's the old treasure protector thing where he is basically hunting treasure, but it's like that's pretty much his occupation.
Okay, well, Indiana Jones is a perfect example. Indiana Jones is like a school teacher, but then, of course, he's a badass. So
I hear you, but my point is
you understand what I'm saying.
But he would be a new groundskeeper, is what you're saying, though. He'd be new to the job.
No, he doesn't even have to be a new groundskeeper. He could just be a groundskeeper, and then, one night all the ghost activity goes on. I mean, it doesn't even like. I don't know, or he could be dealing with the ghost activity for a while when the movie starts. I mean, yeah, maybe he could be a new groundskeeper. That could work also.
That's what I'm saying. Because otherwise, you'd be used to everything. Therefore, there'd be no story. But it's
no. You're right. You're right.
Anyway, okay. Point being, I hear on the groundskeeper thing. I think with a little bit more. I think we could have a little bit more subtlety with the groundskeeper thing, probably. It's basically the big problem with Jim Evers is Jim Evers, aside from just being kind of walking.
Evers.
Tiki, that's the most nostalgic thing I remember from the movie. Tiki, to my
Forever
dying
and
day,
ever.
I will never forget the cell. Like, you'll be happy forevers and evers. It's just this Tiki. It's just because again, if you're a realtor, and yes, it's like the most corny, hackneyed last name you give a realtor character, and make a slogan out of it. That's like, oh god, it's ridiculous. Anyway, but yeah, this is the fact like really has no reason not to give people business cards and like turn away drinks in the bar and everything. Go, I guess I gotta go for my anniversary. I gotta. They know this and they're pushing drinks on. I'm like, you guys late. Do you not? Are you not hearing me here?
Right. That's what I'm saying, Dragon. Like that's where I mean, you're not wrong in terms of like the realtor, like it makes sense in terms of like getting someone to the house in a modern day context. I honestly think this movie probably should have been a period piece.
Yeah,
Like
no, you're
maybe
not
like
wrong.
1920s, like maybe Great Gatsby era to bring
Maybe,
that back around.
maybe.
All right.
Well,
Anyways,
honestly, I'd probably say in the '40s because, like, the old, like, a little bit of Universal horror thing, but maybe a Disney. But I'm saying
no,
the
that
'20s,
makes sense.
the
I
'20s
like
could.
40s as well.
Okay, point being, so yeah, point being, we probably we could have like made it a little less modern. They really wanted. I remember like there is a thing in the making of the movie where they really wanted to strike a balance for like a bit of a. They want a modern audience to get into the haunted mansion. That's one of the reasons. Yet again, it's a
Mm.
realtor where it's basically that's why the Eddie Murphy also try to get like kind of a modern sensibility and not have it be a
Right,
period
but like I
piece.
said,
So
you could have the Eddie Murphy still with the groundskeeper. I mean, I
yeah,
feel like just the basic persona of the groundskeeper, based on what we know about him and the ride, could very easily be applied to like a typical bumbling Eddie Murphy performance.
sure. Instead of an Eddie Murphy who's uberly eager to close a sale.
Right, right.
All right. Anyway, so speaking of, so we spoke of the mansions. Maybe we should talk about kind of the bigger, the bigger mystery of it all.
Yes, and honestly, Dragon, this is one of those things where as a kid I thought it was really interesting, and as an adult, I'm like, oh, this doesn't really hold up too well. There's a lot of stuff about the Sarah
Well,
plot.
okay,
You knew
okay,
that was
don't,
coming, Dragon.
yeah, don't get ahead of us so too much on that stuff, too. We need stuff for the other cat, stuff for the stuff later.
All right, all right. Um, but yeah, in terms of that, it's just I feel like it's like the one part of the movie that's actually complex, but it's too complex, if that makes any sense. Like the rest of the movie is very cookie cutter with the generic overworked family plot. But this is just like I don't know what the hell they were going off of with this. It kind of takes a left turn into crazy town, if I'm being
Well,
honest.
not that it was remotely what it kind of is in the ride, but I think what they're going for is a little bit of Ghost Spry, but obviously it's a very different story. So
Very, very different story.
it's very yeah.
The one thing I respect about it, Dragon, is that it does, as you said, it does kind of tie together some of the plot elements of the ride, specifically the stretching room stuff. It does give some some credence to that, some explanation for that. And I appreciate that. I think it could have been done. I don't know. I don't know how you would do it better. I think the reincarnation angle is where it really loses me, honestly.
Here's the thing: we kind of basically they kind of went for like a pache of Ghost Bride, but it ended up being more kind of a haunted Beauty and the Beast effect, and I don't think that
Okay,
would work.
I got how you could fix this.
Okay, what do you
Um,
got?
Groundskeeper Eddie Murphy falls in love with Constance Hatchaway.
Not bad.
You know Constance Hatchaway. She's the bride who
Yeah.
chops off people's
No,
heads.
I know. I'm just saying it's not a
Okay.
bad idea.
So the whole thing would basically be like this off kilter marriage where Eddie Murphy is just like maybe he finds the portraits of all the husbands with their heads cut off, and he's just like, oh no, like you know what I mean? It kind of like mix a haunted house movie with like a domestic horror movie.
Yeah, a little bit of I married an ex murderer vibe, maybe
Right, right,
maybe just a
yeah, yeah.
dash.
And I think Eddie Murphy would honestly that would also play into his comedic sensibilities.
So honestly, with the mystery that we do, so mystery angle that we do have. I gotta tell you, I liked the opening movie where we just kind of put it into play, and I know they had a lot of trouble with this during the making. Where basically this scene got re-edited a lot of times. How they were gonna like originally they were gonna see the
We
mystery.
justify why the ballroom is the biggest set piece in the ride, and I really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
So in that respect, I do like that we kind of open the movie on that. So I like how we put a mystery into play. I just feel that
Yeah.
I just feel it really loses a lot of track. Basically, when it turns to a scavenger hunt, I think that's a problem. It's not. We're not actually learning anything. We're just like, get this piece to
We
unlock this
actually
piece.
one of the things I noticed is that Gracie and Sarah, there's a big chunk of the movie where they're just not in it. They're just kind of like off to the sidelines. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Like
that,
the timeline doesn't really match up when you think about it.
yeah, that's a problem for sure. So basically, this ended up being the butler did it mystery, where we.
And I like that. I like that. And I like what's his name, Grimsley, or wait,
It's
help me out here, Drake. What's the butler's
I,
name?
I know the name. Just it's give me a second here.
And here's the part of the podcast where Draken and I just kind of like hopelessly bundle around looking for the name.
no it's God it's darn it. Obviously, it's the Terrence Stamp character, but it's
Yes.
God,
Do you want me to Google it?
oh no, we can get this. We can get this.
It's something Lee, Dragon. It's like Brimsby or something. Oh, man. I'm Googling it, man. I don't care. I don't want this dead air on my hands. All right, so fill up the time, Dragon.
Okay, well, all right. Regardless, the point being, this butler, the butler they play. I gotta tell you, the mystery overall. I don't mind necessarily the mystery overall.
Ramsley. I knew it was a Lee.
Rams, because I'm thinking it was. Here's the thing. I thought part of me was thinking Ramsey, but I knew it wasn't Ramsey because they have all these stupid Ramseys. They have Ramsey, then there's the Courage Ramseys, and
there's Gordon Ramsay.
Okay, no, not that many Rams. Okay, the point being, it's Ramsley, right?
Yeah, Ramsley.
Ramsley. Okay, the point being Ramsley, played by Terrence Stamp.
Yeah.
So this whole butler did mission. The idea of have a love story that ends in tragedy, and that feels a little bit like the stretch room meets the ballroom. That's kind of neat. So that's kind of a neat idea, and we also have just kind of the end of the butler ended up poisoning his master, but that in itself that's not bad. The problem is just how kind of stupid we make Gracie and all this. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not. Basically, when we enter that Beauty and the Beast, like the main plot, basically when we literally try to do a ghost bride thing, well, we kill her off and she becomes a ghost who's also a bride. When we do that, that's when we're probably like, we can all go to rest. Where you're the prick who killed everyone. How was that gonna? That's what I'm saying. Is like when you really think about that, that's when things really break down the mystery. Like the mystery itself, it's not bad, it's not great, but it's not bad.
Yeah,
it's a mystery enough. Now as we learn something through the course of the movie, I like having a mystery within the Haunted Mansion. That's a great.
I do like the butler's motivation.
Yeah.
So I think it's like you said, it's not bad. It's just the
crime's good. The investigation's flawed. The investigation's very faulty.
Yeah, I honestly don't necessarily think that this movie even needed a mystery.
Just that and the scavenger hunt. Basically, we have the scavenger hunt to kind of get a little bit of the ride. We're going from point A to point B, and that's cool. But again, like it has to be like so spelled out. Like you go here and get the key.
No, it really didn't need to be. I mean, it kind of becomes a video game fetch quest at that point.
See, this is the part
pieces themselves are cool. I want to emphasize that. Like the fetch quest, like we do get some cool set pieces in that stuff.
No quality with that, just in getting there. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
A little fun fact. I'm sure you remember this. So Haunted Mansion did get a game.
Oh yes, and I'm glad you bring up the game, Dragon, because the game actually starred the groundskeeper.
Really?
Yes.
You
went around and your lantern was your main weapon, and the light like kind of deflected the ghosts.
Was Eddie Murphy at all in the game?
No.
I bet you he didn't get the likeness rights. That's probably why.
Like, honestly, the guy in the game kind of looks like a younger version of the ride's groundskeeper.
It's a neat idea.
We should look into that game at some
Your
point.
your idea is getting.
Maybe there's like a cutscene movie of it.
Your idea is definitely getting more. It's definitely building traction as we're going through this traction-based movie.
Ooh.
Okay, but all serious, honestly, the last thing I want to mention really about the plot, unless you got anything else, is I really do miss the whole 13th hour. This is where I really begin to miss the whole 13th hour ticking clock of it all in that respect. It's like, man, that would have been a really good thing.
Honestly, you know what my guess is?
What?
Is that the Tower of Terror movie really emphasized the 13 with, like, the 13th floor and all that? And maybe they just didn't want to associate this with the Tower of Terror because, like I said, 13 is a big symbol in the Tower of Terror as well. So I don't know. That could have something to do with the minimal presence.
So, I guess overall point being, as we've just kind of gone through, you have two stories in play. You have the Jim Evers story and you have the Gracie mystery. And honestly, a part of me feels the whole movie should probably basically be one or the other. Where again, the Gracie mystery stuff, if more attention was applied to that mystery, maybe we could have gotten a better mystery out of it instead of like taking like roughly 20 minutes or so to get to the mansion. The first 20 minutes tops.
That's a problem. That's definitely a problem.
See, basically, if Disney wants to do an Eddie Murphy movie, do an Eddie Murphy movie. And this is what I'm saying. Look, if you want to put it in a Haunted Mansion, then put it in a
do an
Haunted Mansion.
Eddie Murphy movie about a family who is trying to get basically do kind of a weird version of Eddie Murphy's Vacation.
Exactly. Like if Eddie Murphy literally. Okay, let's just like they're going to Florida. Let's do the better update. Of course, Vacation they couldn't clear Disney World, so let's just say they had. What if we could actually do with Eddie Murphy? Like, I don't know. The point being.
Okay, quick side note. Do you remember when the rumor for the Teacher's Pet movie was that it was going to be a road trip from California to Disney World?
I'm trying to remember if I remember. No, I don't. I know what you're talking about. I don't know if I was. I don't know if I was.
This is kind of like a byproduct of me having a few more years of experience in the Disney online fandom than you do.
Yeah,
well. So.
Yeah, but that sounds like something. But yeah, sure.
All right. Anyways,
but my point is, the point being, like it could have been like that whole basically 20 minutes tops in getting to the Haunted Mansion. In itself, that's something. But that I think that was the thing that kind of skewered a lot of the movie. That's why we have holes in the movie, so to speak. That's kind of that's the skewer in the sandwich, if you will.
But you know what? I feel like because once we get to the mansion, we're basically kind of resorted to fetch quests after the main quest is set up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just the fact that they don't really they're just not confident in the plot of the mansion at all. You know what I mean?
That's possible because again, I think it's just and maybe you know what? Maybe it's a case of just kind of regrettable style over substance, and that they wanted to really they put their all into it. We see they put their all into it, visually and really putting things into it. They cared about the movie, obviously. They care about doing the movie, but maybe they lost their nerve, as you're saying. Maybe it's just kind of like they're going through and it's like, you know what? I don't know if it's notes from the studio. I don't know if it's like we got to dumb down the plot. I don't know if it's like, guys, we can't go that dark with it, so you're gonna have to scale it back. So in doing that, we're kind of taking some stuff out there that might be really crucial story stuff. That's why we have just some really random stuff that happens in the third act, which we'll get to. I don't know. It's like we have a balance of scare we gotta meet. We have to entertain the kiddies. We gotta service Eddie Murphy. It's like we got a lot of plates we're spinning
here. Yeah.
All right. So, it sounds like we're getting a little down on things. Let's lighten the mood. Let's talk about some happy haunts.
All right. So this is basically our pros and cons here, folks. So, so we'll start with the happy haunts. Okay, just kind of to rattle through some of them. Set design is pretty damn on point.
Locations very on the money. Very, very kind of faithful amalgam, as we mentioned earlier on.
The creature effects by Rick Baker, for the most part, are pretty damn good.
God bless Rick Baker. Tiki, did you see the Rick Baker interview on Fat Man Beyond?
No, I did not.
It's so good.
Okay, noted.
Little fun fact. You mentioned Rick Baker. Little fun fact. Rick Baker's a cool guy, especially around Halloween. Anyway.
Okay, I feel like the two highlights of the movie are Madame Leota and Wallace Shawn as Ezra.
Absolutely, especially I really do love Jennifer Tilly and things, and
I honestly, Jennifer Tilly held up a lot better than I thought she would. I thought Madame Leota was a lot of fun in this
I
movie on the
I
rewatch.
I think she's great, man. I think she's
Hold on to what?
to what?
Oh
Basically,
god.
it seems like when we're doing our iconic
I
characters,
mean, what I really like about go ahead, sorry.
it seems like when we're doing our iconic
Nate?
characters, we're really on the money. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can you hear me?
I think there
Okay,
might be a
weird.
smidge of a delay.
I'm gonna go out and come back in, all right?
All right. Anywho, but yes, it just seems like when we do kind of more of our landmark characters, really on the money, as it were. Let's see. So again, as I mentioned, like the Jim Evers story in parts is fine. Again, it seems like it belongs more in its own movie, but in parts it's fine. Just kind of working with the movie that we do have. I gotta say, I like elements of the story. I think do work, and I think do also work in a Haunted Mansion movie. Again, if you're gonna have kids in the movie, which we do in this case, I do like the father helping his son conquer his fear. You know, the fear of spiders. I really do like that plot thread. I do love this, like, yeah.
No, I didn't say anything.
No. I'm just trying to engage here. Like, yeah, and
I'm still paranoid about the lag, but if they had to have a kid, Dragon, they didn't have to have two kids.
that's fair. Yes, it's fair. It's funny though. The kid, Michael, I buy him as Eddie Murphy's son in this movie. I really do. He seems very like I could buy that kid as Eddie
Like
Murphy's son.
he's very skittish. Honestly, he kind of acts like a kid version of how I want Eddie Murphy to act as the groundskeeper. Just kind of
Okay.
keep bringing that up. Maybe it'll go into maybe I'm gonna create like an alternate universe where this Eddie Murphy groundskeeper in the Haunted Mansion movie exists if I
So
try
there's a
hard enough.
divergent timeline, and okay, no. But what I'm saying is, I like the whole like trying to help his son conquer the fear of spiders, which leads to a really great, probably the best sequence in the movie, which I hope we're in unison on here, the mausoleum sequence.
The thing about the mausoleum sequence is it's the best sequence in the movie, and it's also the biggest fetch quest in the movie.
It is, but it's a
It's
really big.
literally a video game, Dragon. You have to go into the dungeon to get the key to open the chest.
True, but it's very cool. It's a very well done. I think it's the best shot sequence in the movie, man. It's one of them. It's a really good
The
one.
Rick Baker zombies are great.
They are. They look tremendous. It's
Okay,
scary. It's practical.
there's a tiny Easter egg in the scene, but I'll save it. I'll save it. But suffice to say, I definitely noticed some Easter eggs that I didn't notice the first time around, and this scene has one of them.
So honestly, I feel this one is like, even given the movie that we have, this is where things are operating at their best. Where okay, we set up the spire thing earlier on. We have this mausoleum sequence, which is kind of like
You have Wallace Shawn in there. He's kind of like a nice anchor to the movie into the supernatural realm.
uh huh. And again, like we're doing the most kind of most haunted mansiony stuff there, and we're
I
then
love the graveyard just in general.
yes,
I mean, I love the hearse carriage for one. That's a great kind of use of an iconic haunted mansion set piece. I go to admit the singing busts they didn't hold up as well as I hoped they would. Dragon.
yeah,
They were pretty pointless.
yeah, they
And
were really pointless.
you know what especially struck me is like at the end of the movie, like why would they bring the singing busts of all the things in the mansion? Like you would think that that would be one of the things that they would just leave behind. Like, all right, you guys are cool, but you can just chill here. It's like I don't know. It's
Well, you
just
know the old adage: whenever you go to a new place, you bring home a souvenir.
they already had Leota though.
Okay, now well, that there goes my point. Okay, never mind. Forget it. Well, you know what? Maybe
um,
they wanted to cheap out on the radio. Let's just bring the bus. Maybe they'll
okay,
save.
but speaking of which, this is gonna kind of let's see how smoothly I transition here, Dragon. The singing bus. One of the cool things about them is the fact that they do, in fact, sing "Grim Grinning Ghosts." And just throughout the movie, one of the best parts about this movie is the score and how it does a great job of incorporating Grim Grinning Ghosts. Honestly, even some Phantom Manor stuff, Dragon.
Yeah.
Like it's a great adapted score. It's not really an original score. I mean, I'm sure there's original compositions in it, but for the most part, it's a lot of riffs on Grim Grinning Ghosts with some Phantom Manor thrown in there for good measure. But man, it really works.
So overall, so we have like some other greats. Already we kind of talked up the mausoleum sequence, the whole got the keys in the water and like the whole we get the kid's got to open the door of the spiders. But aside from that, we have like stuff like the night fight is pretty cool. Do I believe Eddie Murphy can take on all those knights? Heck no. Is it a great scene? You betcha. And that's pretty cool. Of course, you have the kind of kind of piggybacks off the knight from the original ride. The moving knight kind of looking as you're looking down the hallway. Again, the as I mentioned, the realtor rationale. Again, I can buy it. Again, maybe not with kids in tow, but I can buy it. I love this. There's a really great subtle effect. So of course, we already mentioned like some of the great ghost effects in the astral form, which looks really cool in practice. But one of the really great effects is actually a practical one on Terrence Stamp. The way it looks is actually a very slight but a really effective makeup alteration on him. He has like this upper lip piece put on, and they did this so he looked like kind of like a Boris Karloff or a
Okay, that's
look
clever.
a little like Karloff, maybe a little bit like Lugosi, depending on who you ask. But essentially, it's supposed to look kind of old kind of horror star esque.
Okay, and let me ask you this, Dragon: do you buy into the theory that he is the ghost host? I mean, it would make sense, right?
I think they're going for a ghost host vibe regardless. I think that's definitely what they're going for in the voice and everything there. Whether he ends up given what happens to him, I don't think he's actually the ghost host given his fate in the movie.
Yeah, sure. Honestly, I could see Gracie as the ghost host, like in canon with the story.
That's the thing. I think that's kind of where they're looking towards. But you know what? Speaking of him, they want to forget about him. I got to tell you, Edward Gracie in the movie, I think he gives a very solid performance. I really do.
He does. I wish there was more stuff with him.
I know that's one of the tragedies too. Because again, I'm fascinated. Okay, so the guy who owns the haunted mansion, the big cheese, the big head honcho, he's actually kind of a compelling guy. He's this poor guy. He's his tragedies befallen him. He hung himself. That's a really great starting place for that character. Unfortunately, he's kind of a rube in the movie. That's the problem. He's He's like if Timothy Dalton had a son, it would be Edward Gracie.
Right.
The younger Timothy Dalton for the next generation, could be like an Edward Gracie type. This kid.
I mean, I do like how he's kind of just like this hopeless romantic.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's see. I mean, honestly, like I said, a lot of the pluses in this movie really do come down to the production side of things. This is a very well produced, you can definitely feel the budget in this movie. It's not a cheap looking movie.
Oh yeah.
A lot of ride references, certainly more ride references than there are in the Pirates franchise, which I do appreciate.
They're really great carryover ride references too, which we'll get to.
I think that's kind of wrapping it up.
One of my favorite effects in the movie. I love the regenerating mansion effect. I love when he just like takes like a pole. Basically, he rips like a pole out of the ground. He basically wham! He hits the window and it regenerates. Oh my!
Yeah, that's cool.
The fact that we drive a car through the mansion too. I mean, it's kind of awesome. Over the top, a smidge. Is it awesome? Yeah.
Okay, that about sums it up, right?
Yep. Now we talk about the.
All right, let's get into some mistakes that this movie made, and Dragon, who made those mistakes?
Foolish mortals.
Foolish Eisner.
Foolish Eisner.
This was like right at the tail end of the Eisner reign, actually.
Oh, Izzy, what have you done? Anyway.
Oh, Michael, I love the man. I really
Meeny,
do.
miny, Izzy. Okay.
I mean, I'm just like Eisner is just such a fascinating when I was a kid, like in the Disney fandom community, I hated him, man. I hated him with a passion. But nowadays, looking back on him, he's such a flawed character
I
in such an interesting way.
It's funny. I never felt Eisner hate at all, but I do. I now, looking back, I see he's a great complex character with him. It's like, oh man, this Eisner again. This is why we have Dominic Lombardozzi playing Eisner in our biopic stuff. Again, like
Right.
the guy again, he's an intimidating man, that Michael Eisner. But again, he exudes like he tries to exude friendliness in so much of the
Right.
advertising.
Hello.
What is
Dragon,
happening?
do you know the hello gag that's going around with Eisner?
What hello gag? What?
Okay, basically, I'm sorry, folks, we're getting off on a little Eisner tangent here. So basically, you know how Uncle Walt, like Walt Disney, every time he'd come on, he'd just be this really warm, welcoming presence, Eisner really wanted to emulate that, Dragon. So if you go back and watch the Eisner, the Wonderful World of Disney stuff, and stuff of that nature, his televised appearances. Dragon, almost every time Eisner enters the scene, he'll enter with a very gruff "hello,"
Oh
and
god.
it's like his version of trying to be Walt, but it doesn't work every time. It just feels so gruff and intimidating, just like "hello."
Keep jumping to the two pieces of kind of Eisner trying to be the next Walt to do. I keep thinking of him pieing poor Frank Wells in the face, and then I think of like the thing where they have animate Mickey on top of him, where basically he's introducing, I think, the ABC, the Disney
That's
family.
classic.
Where
That's
basically, like,
classic. Yeah.
it basically says, and then say hello to these characters. I also love. And basically, Mickey puts his hands over his eyes and says, "What is
Oh.
happening?" He really has no idea what he's doing. It's just, what is happening in the studio now, where he's just it's just hysterical. Anyway, getting back on point.
All right, so Dragon, you and I can both agree that all the bad stuff in the Haunted Mansion movie is solely Eisner is solely responsible for all of it, and not anyone else.
Okay, well, come on, let's back off the Eisner. Okay,
Okay,
anyway,
so honestly, I think we already covered a lot of the problems with this movie just with the plot. I feel like we already kind of, just the fact that it's a very, very paint by numbers, like overworked dad plot that you can kind of just like, essentially, as soon as you get what's going on, as soon as he makes the phone call to the wife about being home late, Dragon, you can map out the exact arc of this family from beginning to end. Like, it's so formulaic.
piggyback off the earlier reference you were making with the certain Jurassic Park movie. To me, it's going to sound a little harsh, and as we told again, the movie that we got at the end of the day, it comes across that Eddie Murphy does not belong in a Haunted Mansion movie, and it feels like a career movie, like a guy who's just like, hey, you should do a Disney movie. Okay, I
Yeah,
had a Shrek.
yeah.
Hey Eddie, yeah, do a Disney movie. Why not? Do
Well, I
theme.
mean, he did do Mulan.
Sorry, yeah, you're right. Let's.
You do a live action Disney movie. You could be the next Johnny Depp.
Yep. Let's see. So, point being, he's like do a career movie. Like basically be the face for a change. Don't be the voice. Be the face, Eddie.
Uh,
Uh, Basically, he's doing a movie. He's doing making a career movie before it's a movie that Eddie Murphy cares about. When you get scenes like Sarah, I love you, Sarah. It's like when you get moments.
right, right.
I don't think he really cared about this movie. And that might sound harsh, but I mean, who would that? It's either that or Robert Minkoff is had like the worst day in his directing career in that moment. One of the two. Either Eddie Murphy didn't care about that movie, which again, look, Eddie Murphy's done a lot of movies. I wouldn't fault him if he had one. It's a shame it was The Haunted Mansion, but I won't fault him if you have a couple off movies.
What's funny is that a few years from now, he would do a fucking passion project of his by the name of Norbit.
Oh God. We
That
joke
was
with
a
love.
movie I saw in theaters, Dragon.
What's funny?
What?
Oh God, I think I saw that in theater. I'm trying to remember if I saw that in theaters. Like it was so bad, I tried to block it from my memory.
I tried to block it out too, but I know for a fact I saw it in theaters.
I think I saw it in theaters too.
All right. Enough.
My point is,
drama.
the point is, with all the Murphy talk is that we We do joke, we do take some shots here, but again, like it all. The good news is he's doing Dolomite, so Dolomite is my name. You know.
Okay, you know what? To point that out, I remember back in the day, because this movie came out the same year as Curse of the Black Pearl, and everyone was like, "Oh man, like Johnny Depp just is so good as the lead character of Curse of the Black Pearl, and Eddie Murphy is just a flop in Haunted Mansion." And honestly, Dragon, it's kind of funny. Like Johnny Depp is sort of like, I don't know if he's ever going to have a career again. And Eddie Murphy's kind of on the upswing recently.
He is. That he is. I mean, of course, the big thing he's going back on SNL. That's a huge deal for him. So I mean,
Oh
we'll
yeah.
see. Point being, anyway. So I think we've covered the Eddie Murphy gambit here. On the flip side of things, we definitely draw out the whole Gracie Sarah. Speaking of all this, Sarah, I love you, Sarah. We're in New Orleans. Let's do some fusion jazz. What do you say? Let's do like Sarah. I love you, Sarah.
Sarah, I love you, Sarah.
Never have I heard like a less impassioned "I love you," man. I'm saying, like, even if in the most copious, it's just like the movie has no love in it, man. That's a harsh thing to say, but there's no love. I don't mean
If
love
a
in like.
lot of people love each other, the world would be a better place to live.
Anyway, my point is with the Sarah Ball, yeah, we really draw out that whole Gracie Sarah, like being given like the extended tour of the place that lasts at least like 3/4 of the movie.
20 minutes or less.
20 minutes tops. There's this weird side plot which just makes him look bad, which makes me feel like I do like this Gracie character. It makes him look like a fool. Where obviously she doesn't remember Gracie. Put two and two together. Movie ends here, yet we have a wedding. Why do we have a wedding? No idea. Anyway, so let's see. Jim Evers, also with Jim Evers too. The other thing, so we mentioned the Sarah of it all. Jim Evers, he gets annoying really fast in places. Wouldn't you agree?
uh, Honestly, he wasn't as bad as I thought he would be. Again, I think this is probably a byproduct of very low expectations, but honestly, Dragon, I found him tolerable.
I mean, honestly, let me give me an example. You tell me if maybe I'm just crazy here. The scene with Ramsley, where the little chocolates on the pillows gag, where it's like that. He's annoying the butler. I'm on the butler's side for a change. Or I shouldn't be on the butler's side in this scene. I should be like, well, he's trying, he's just being snubbed by the snooty butler. Like that. That's like, oh man, he's just like a joke's hitting deaf ears. Like he's bombing in a movie. You shouldn't bomb in a movie.
Uh
I don't know.
huh.
Let's see. The Silvermans are nuts, by the way, in the Tiki bar. Those are the guys who were basically like, they won't let them leave the table. We already kind of mentioned that. So
Hold the thought on the tiki bar. I have things to
oh yeah,
say.
I know. We're gonna get there. Story. Look again. Honestly, at the end of the day, say what you will, but the story really makes no sense by the third act, where they have like the giant fire dragon, Rams slave to hell. It's just like, what is going on now? And that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. They feared like going a little too dark, so we kind of kept a smidge of darkness, but no logic to it whatsoever. Like, okay, so wedding goes topsy turvy, and now he's being dragged to hell. I'm like, what is happening? How is this the Haunted Mansion? What movie did we enter? Like, what cheesy early 2000s movie have we entered into now?
Okay, maybe you can clear this up for me because this is kind of a plot hole that I really couldn't figure out. What is the circumstance that allows Sarah to like not become a ball of light and to become a full person ghost? Like, I really didn't get that. I really didn't get how Sarah was, you know, can you explain that to me, Dragon? Like, she,
Well,
the ball of light like goes into, I'm sorry, not Sarah, Elizabeth. Um, goes into the ball of light goes into Sarah, and then we have this weird little moment where Gracie is making out with Sarah, and and then suddenly the ghost of Elizabeth is just there. Like, I don't get that. I like doesn't really compute with me.
well, the logic is, again, there's kind of a half logic on this. Is that she was the ball earlier in the movie. Why she was the ball earlier in the movie, can't quite tell you.
No, I get that she was the ball earlier in the movie, like you said. I just don't get the why of it.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, later again,
I don't get what happens that like makes her not a ball? That's what I'm really confused about.
Well, if I'm
Is
a
it just
betting,
the power of true love? Is that what it boils down to?
I want to say she just found Sarah and she melded with her, and that's why she kind of inhabited the form, and then they just kind
Well,
of walked
that's
up.
dumb.
I didn't say it was smart. I said I think that's what happened. I mean, either that or find a better interpreter than I, sir. It's just we have like I think the ball like finds her again and it kind of reabsorbs into her and then it kind of walks basically revives her and then it kind of walks out there for like kind of a little glory shot and then basically they'll turn the balls as they ascend. That's pretty much that's all she wrote.
All right, all right.
At least that's what I got from it. Let's see. Again, the haunted mansion. Basically, the haunted mansion it isn't the main focus. And again, we already covered this. Basically, our POV character is, and the POV character should just be the POV character, not the focus. That's kind of one of the big kind of kernels of problem we're kind of we kind of go to here.
You, Judy. Sorry, it's true.
And of course, we extend the scavenger hunt a little too much. And again, we've hit all these points. Right? I think we're all good here, unless you got anything major.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, let's get your favorite things here. Let's talk about.
It's time to take a trip to the Museum of the Weird, aka ride references and Easter eggs. Yay! All right, so yeah, Dragon totally didn't catch this until now, but they are absolutely at a tiki bar, and that is great because a lot of the original people who worked on the Tiki Room went on to work on the Haunted Mansion. Those two attractions share a lot of DNA with each other, and I love that call out.
Of course, what the really clever thing is? Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're going to be the expert on this, but if I'm remembering correctly, the Tiki Bar is in some locations is local to New Orleans Square and the Haunted Mansion. We're close on that. Is it like somewhere around the corner or somewhere? Area, at least in one of the parks.
You mean the Tiki Room itself, right?
Yeah, the Tiki Room itself, like
kind of. It's in Adventureland, and then Adventureland directly connects to New Orleans Square. So
there you go. So the idea is we start there, and then we make our way to New Orleans for the movie.
Sure.
So basically, that's kind of where we're at. The start of our.
Yeah, I did pick up on that. That's neat.
Of course, Leota in the levitating room, kind of the big Leota sequence and all the things levitating. Let me put it this way: that scene's great. What I don't need is like, did the instruments really need to chase him around? Do we really need like this? Like, is he scared? I get it. Like, does it need to be chased?
You know what's interesting about that is that the one thing about this movie that actually made it into the Haunted Mansion ride, because of course everyone was paranoid, and thank God this didn't happen, but everyone was paranoid that there was going to be an Eddie Murphy animatronic added to the ride. But Dragon, they actually plussed up the Leota scene, I want to say around 2005, 2006 for the 50th anniversary. And they added to the Leota scene. And they actually added the effect where Leota floats as well. So that is, I assume, a reference to the movie with the floating instruments. Little neat nugget right there. Like the one time that the movie actually is referenced in the Disney parks directly.
That is pretty cool.
All right. Oh man, I mean, there's just a lot of them. Of course, right from the very beginning, we had the ballroom. We have the hanging, the hanging corpse in the attic.
With the opening of the movie,
there's a storm brewing outside, just like there is in the ride.
Of course, with the opening of the movie, we have Grin and Ghost, the ballroom, and the most important detail of all. I believe, T, I could be wrong. I want to say it's the first time they used them, but I could be wrong. Corey Burton.
I don't know about it being the first time they used him, but yes.
I could have sworn like this is the first time they used him for the ride, and then that's when they kind of made the change.
Holiday.
Oh. Okay. All right.
I want to say Holiday was like a year or two before this.
I
could be wrong about that.
Corey Burton's in the movie, so that's really cool. Corey Burton doing his Paul Frees.
And I do really love how the movie opens up with "Welcome, Foolish Mortals" and it ends with "Hurry back, hurry back." That's great.
Yep.
I really, really hope that whenever we do get the reboot, they at least keep that.
Okay, we mentioned the singing bust. Now, of course, the really cool detail with the singing bust is a few of them are modeled after the original. The original.
Yes, yes, we
They're
got
all
the Thurl
Raven.
Ravenscroft one, which
And,
everyone confuses for Walt Disney.
we have Paul Frees.
Yes, yes.
Also, by the way, a little even deeper cut. The singing voices. You know who the singing voices are, don't you?
I mean, I know who the original singing voices are, but who are the new singing voices?
Dapper Dans.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you have the Dapper Dans to do it.
Of course, the thing about the Dapper Dan's dragon is that it's like it's kind of like a constantly rotating lineup of barbershop quartet singers. There's not one established group of Dapper Dans, but yeah, still, that's cool.
All right, let's see. Of course, we see the hitchhiking ghost. So technically, all three of them do make an appearance, just not all. Well, just not in the same kind of.
Do you
All
know
three.
who the one with the beard is?
Uh, well, you know, it's funny. I remember they're in the tiki bar scene. At least, yeah, they've fit them in. The actors who play those guys, not Wally Shawn, of course, but you know the other two guys. They were in that tiki bar scene earlier in the movie. They're the ones serving the drinks.
All right, well, the one with the beard is actually Deep Roy.
Oh,
Yeah, who would go on to be the Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Missed that, man. Cool.
All right. Oh, okay. So Mausoleum Dragon, the one Easter egg I really want to point out here is that we get the one shot where the corpse kind of like pops up at the camera and screams. And Dragon, I'm pretty much I know pretty much for a fact that's got to be a reference to the ride where the corpse kind of pop up from the graves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it is.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the Raven.
Ah, yes, the Raven, of course. By the way, they had a heck of a time shooting that. It took them 5 hours to shoot that Raven.
Really?
You know, they thought it'd be like a simple, like, the Raven was going to land on cue, and it did not go like that.
Oh God.
It took 5 hours for a shot it's like a little Easter egg, and it's only there for like a few seconds, but that's what you get.
Um.
Again, the Ghost Bride of it all, we can already kind of mention that.
Yeah. I wish that was translated more directly, but it's there.
There are some hidden Mickeys in the movie.
Are there? Oh.
Yeah, apparently the padlock. It's not. I don't think it's the best. They as far as everyone in the movie is concerned, that this is a hidden Mickey, but it's like the padlock that on the gate when you first get to it. It's kind of a Mickey shape, but the ears are really small. But it's a hidden Mickey. You have better hidden Mickeys later on, like when he's getting hit by the axe, and like you know, the axe is almost like chopping his head off, and the poison's being poured into the thing for the wedding ceremony. So
Hmm.
also really deep cut one. So Disney has a prop house from all the live action movies. And
Yes.
a lot of furniture in the mansion are from other Disney movies. Like the biggest one I could call out is the couch, the big red couch, and I believe in the room where Eddie Murphy's basically discovering the bookshelf and everything.
Hmm.
I believe that's the couch from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Which is interesting because that kind of ties back to the ride where the pipe organ is from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I would imagine they probably tried to get that too, but I can't confirm that one.
Do you know if they did any on location shooting at all?
Well, I
I
told you
don't think they did.
they did shoot some stuff in. Oh, you mean did they? Oh no, here's what they did do though. What they did is that to get reference and research, they went on the ride, they stopped, and they got out of the ride and actually walked the set and see how it. You know, they walked. Well, they used the
Oh
catwalk and
God.
stuff. They used the
That's one of
catwalks.
my dreams. That's oh my God. I would love to take I would pay like upwards of $200 to take a walking tour of the mansion dragon.
You pay all the lightsabers to get in there.
Right.
Just, you literally just like, I will give you all these lightsabers. I'll give you a lightsaber. You let me go on the catwalk of the Haunted Mansion ride. What do you say?
Just the fact that when you're in the Leota room, there's like a 30-foot drop right below her. That always trips me out.
That is
Anyway.
creepy, right?
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Okay, so I think that's about it. I think we pretty much mentioned the our ideas for if they were to do a reboot, it'd probably focus more on the actual like ghost side of things, maybe having the Hatbox Ghost as a fixture. Although I would say like adapting Constance Hatchaway, like Constance Hatchaway is like she's a pretty iconic villain. Like, she could be a great, like, Disney slasher movie villain if they do her right.
If I'm pitching just based on what you've told me, which I'm liking a lot of ideas you've been saying throughout this thing, if I were to pitch just a very simple, like just like a less than a minute here, just like off the top of my head, it would be that we have the groundskeeper and we do the Ghost Bride story, and basically the idea is we have kind of our, whether it be like in a montage to start the movie, we see the groundskeeper's first day, and then we basically see him as an established character through the rest of the movie. Kind of almost like Logan-esque, kind of like we see just kind of like the montage of the day just kind of goes on and on. It's kind of our nice, maybe not Eddie Murphy in a second go around, obviously, but we have really good actors that are groundskeeper. And basically, maybe we start off a little comical, but I'm not saying even if we went the serious direction with the groundskeeper, we just have this character who's kind of maybe fallen for Constance Hatchaway, or he's fallen for the bride. Maybe we have a light character in the Hatbox Ghost who reportedly was the ex-husband of the bride. Am I correct in that?
I can't confirm or deny that. I honestly don't know.
I always thought the rumor was, that's why, he has the detachable head, because he was,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
My point is,
my argument is that I don't necessarily think the Hatbox Ghost would be a light character.
I gotta tell you, this is just like my non-informed take on the Hatbox Ghost, is looking at him from a purely aesthetic level. I gotta tell you, Hatbox Ghost seems like a salesman to me.
I can see that.
He seems like a fun salesman with ex-wives. That's really kind of what I get from that character. That's kind of
Bob Odenkirk is the Hatbox Ghost.
But seriously, that's what I imagine. Like, you have maybe a little bit more of kind of a straightforward straight man or a groundskeeper, and you have like this guy kind of warning him about the bride, and then perhaps like, I told you, and that's kind of the adventure. I don't know. That's my like minute pitch for the movie.
All right. Okay, so final thoughts, Dragon. What do you got?
Well, that's for me. I think any potential this movie has won't save it from the fact that no one really cared about the core story of this film. I think they were just in love with making a movie about the Haunted Mansion, because we're doubling down on selling the Haunted Mansion where we really, that shouldn't be necessary in the first place. Where we shouldn't be worrying about selling the movie, we should be worrying about just like basking in the movie and what makes the Haunted Mansion really neat, and just kind of the experience of it. It should be the experience before it's just kind of this. We're trying to tell two stories that aren't quite meshing well together. One's just the more like star power, and the other one's more like Haunted Mansion mystery. We think, I wish it was just more cohesive, because there's a lot to love about this movie. Aesthetically, this film is fantastic. It really is. But I fear the optics. I just get a sense that they really feared optics on this one. They really feared we need to play with demographic. We need to really kind of sell this we gotta go pirates with it, man. We gotta go pirates with it. Pure we gotta hit them with all the spectacle. Get some Rick Baker stuff in there. It's gonna be really impressive, and that is really impressive for the scenes that we have it in. All the Haunted Mansion stuff when we're doing it is really cool. But every time we kind of intertwine these plots, it's kind of, it just kind of goes off the rails, and basically it's kind of we want the next classic Haunted Mansion film for kids in a sense, but I think the only way we're going to achieve that, the only way we're going to do that, is if we tell the story of the Haunted Mansion, scary or not. Like, again, if you want to tell, I guess what I'm saying is, I want the next classic Haunted Mansion, not in that we're doing another Haunted Mansion, and the fact that I want like what the Abbott and Costello movies were. I want when the old comedy bit, well, not even in a comedy sense, the old. You go into a haunted location, a haunted house, but this haunted house is a mansion. It's a great location. I want that for the next generation. The way we have the old, way there are the old Universal monster movies, or vice versa. I want that's what the focus should be. But again, at the end of the day, this movie is aesthetically pleasing. I think its heart's in the right place at a lot of the time, but let Eddie Murphy padding, and I think at the end of the day, kind of like the main plot and the mystery, is with the whole the Sarah of it all. The love is missing, and the love is the key. Not the physical key, but it's the key of the whole movie. We need some love in this movie, some love for the movie. And I think that's kind of what brings it down. It's watchable. Don't get me wrong, but it's not enjoyable. I don't think it's as enjoyable as it should be.
All right. Yeah, Dragon, this is an interesting one for me to revisit, especially because obviously I had a lot of hype around it in my early teenage years when it came out. but it just kind of very much fell by the wayside. It's not anything that I've really even thought about for a long time outside of the idea that they should do it better. So, like I said, Dragon, this is one of the I feel like I'm a little less critical about it than you are, but just because I did find it to be like I think watchable is honestly the best term you can use for this thing. Like it's certainly not a great movie, but I do think it's very good in some spots, especially like we said from a from an aesthetic and production design point of view. And I don't know, man. Like I think I'm much more in favor of Eddie Murphy in this thing than you are. I don't necessarily think he has any real moments where he's annoying me. I mean, you did cite the the chocolate on the bed thing, but yeah, I don't know. Like I don't think he's as annoying as he could be. I like he feels out of place, yes, but I think the problems in the movie don't really come down to him. I feel like they more come down to the plot and kind of like the identity issues that this movie has. But when it comes down to it, I'm definitely glad that I revisited this thing, and I do think it's an appropriate one to kick off the this season of seasonal shenanigans. Of course, this being the 50th anniversary of the mansion and all. Probably should have mentioned that up front. But yeah. So at the end of the day, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I definitely think it served its role in the time it was released. Can we use another Mansion movie that's done with more respect to the source material? Absolutely, but this is fun for what it is. It really is. All right, Dragon. Should we? I forget. I know on our other holiday show we kind of tease up the next one. So should we do that here?
Uh, hey, deal if you'd like, I guess.
I always like to. All right, so folks, next one coming up is we're going to do Hey Arnold. And really, we're kind of running out of Hey Arnold ones. We did a very unconventional one last year with Arnold Visits Arnie, which is really just kind of like more uncanny and creepy until the end of it. This time we're doing a much more traditional one. We're doing Ghost Bride, right, Dragon?
Well, so much for teasing. We're just telling them just flat out, apparently. But yes, yes, there's a theme, folks. You get one ghost bride to another. Yes.
Yes, yes. So I gotta tell you, Dragon, it's been a long while since I've rewatched Ghost Bride, and I do not have nearly the nostalgia for this episode that I do for something like The Haunted Train. So I'm very curious to rewatch this thing and see how it holds up. I've heard it's one of the more creepy ones, so we'll see how it goes. All right.
Well, actually, Tiki, what's funny is to mention it. Here's something to tease it up with.
Yeah.
Uh, Ghost Bride was the last kind of like creepy Hey Arnold episode. It was in season 5.
This isn't the last one we have,
No,
right?
no,
We
no.
have one more.
It's not the last one we have. I'm saying this is the last creepy one they made. This is the last kind of spooky one they made.
Interesting. Interesting. We'll see if they go out with a bang or a whip or a whimper. All right. All right, folks. That's the end of tonight's spooky selection. And our spirits grow weary. But they'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage in even more haunted holiday hijinks. For evers and evers.
And Evers.